I have a question. Will behavior therapy work for a child who does not want help?
Yikes. How old is the child?
She's 12. She's facing her second inpatient stay. She was in 4 years ago, and she's going back in again this month.
Does she see the OCD as being unusual and bizarre?
Oh, yeah, she knows. She knows all about it. She's one of the childhood experts on OCD. But at this point, she's been out of school. She's maybe been in school a month since September, off and on. And we have to do something with her. And she does not want to go back inpatient. She does not want help. She likes living in the living room and nobody bothering her.
And that's not unusual. Maybe her experiences have been what, we've gotten her to say, I don't want help. I wouldn't want to do an inpatient. Because unless I'm on a ward with all other obsessive compulsives, 20 years ago this was misdiagnosed as schizophrenia.
Oh.
And so if I have OCD and I go on a ward with schizophrenics, that's going to be an unpleasant situation. Not that there's anything wrong with schizophrenics, but you really appreciate the different realm of what's going on here. And it looks nutty as all hell, but this is a completely different world. If I had OCD, I wouldn't touch inpatient unless it was like an AFOA situation where everyone else that you're dealing with has got OCD.
Okay, this unit she was on before is the Winchester 1 unit at Yale, and she was 95% better when she came home the last time. Things have gotten out of control again, and it's the best thing I've ever heard about from all the parents I've heard from is the Winnie 1 unit. And
is it specifically for OCD?
No, it's for kids with problems, but they did a wonderful job the last time. And if we don't do something, the state's going to be on our case because they'll consider it truant too. So you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I would like to try some behavioral therapy, but I know she wouldn't cooperate. So
at 12, she's at a point where relationships might have more of an influence than you might think. And I think that she's with a behavior therapist who doesn't give her a homework assignment in the first few sessions. And the relationship develops, there may be some hope. It's a tough one. Adolescence are really, really rough. I don't know, I really want to find out, is it egocentric? Does she really believe that what she's doing makes sense and other people should do it? Because if she feels that way, then I'd probably look at medication.
Yeah, she was on Prozac for a year and a half, and that lost its effectiveness, and we're just debating whether to try one of the new.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot about it now, Prozac, that it sort of peaks and people are like, wow, this is great, and then it just gradually tails off.
Does Afrinil do that too?
I haven't seen that as much with an Afrinil. An Afrinil, if it kicks in, you see a tremendous difference, and it tends not to tail off.
I think there's a lot of truth in what you said, but I'm wondering if the path we'd like someone to go on with behavioral therapy is such hard work. To get an adult who's had OCD for a while, who's gone on medication, and is comfortable with the stage they're at now, they're not going to be successful in behavioral therapy because they're not going to want to do the work.
You're right. And those are the people I can help. And I usually recommend that they drop out of therapy, or that if they want to continue therapy, that we not talk about the disorder. Because a lot of people will go to see me, and they reach what I call plateau phase, where they'll get a little bit of elbow room, like, I'm breathing again. And they're like, I don't want to go any further right now. It's too risky what you want me to do. And so I say, okay, I want you to choose every day of your life to do your rituals, to keep your disorder, because we're not going to have any pretense of getting you better. Because they think, I'm going to be a psychologist, so maybe it'll kind of go away on its own.
I think some people could reach a plateau with maybe medication where they're functional, they're working. The OCD doesn't interfere with their life as much as it used to, it's still there. And
well, I see, I'm not an OCD Gestapo, so I won't hunt those people down and throw them into an inpatient behavior therapy unit. No, I always want people to, and I use the term, pull this out by its deepest root. Because with OCD, in my opinion, unless you go to the toilet water, it's going to weed its way back. And that weed, unless it's really pulled out deep, is going to grow back eventually, gradually. And I've seen a number of people from Edna Foa's clinic who haven't been sustained, and that, you know, and Edna Foa is brutal compared to me. I'm a real pussycat compared to Edna Foa and what she gets people to do. She doesn't let people shower more than 5 minutes in a week. And she says things like, if you shower more than 5 minutes or wash your hands, you lose $2,000 and you're going back home. She is the premier of, this is it, you're dropping the disorder, and she does that to say, you're either committed or I'm not going to even touch it.
And that's safe to do?
But some people, so did they find that they can't, you know, that they need the medication to be able to get to a point where they, you know, when they start off, that to be able to have that will to start behavioral therapy?
Sure, I'm not against medication.
Right.
I'm not against it. I just think that sometimes it creates confusion. Someone says to me, I'm really desperate, I want medication. I want everything.
Stephen, you have about 7 minutes because of the train schedule.
Yikes. Okay, what does it look like when you've helped someone with OCD? What are we heading for? Are we heading for no more spikes? Are we heading for no more anxiety? Is it going to be Shangri-La? And the answer is no. What it's going to be like is that the person is going to continue to spike. Fine. But their response to the spike is going to be, you know, so what? And they can spike 20 times a day and say, so what? And so the person who says to me, oh my God, I spiked 30 times today, I would say to them, yeah, so, to really hammer in that the spike isn't what it's about. The person will develop a tolerance for ambiguity, for anxiety, and to disallow the experience of guilt. To me, this is one of the many radical things I'll say tonight. Guilt is always illegitimate. Always illegitimate. It never has a reasonable basis to it. If I axe murdered my entire family, I still don't feel like I deserve to feel guilty. Because what is guilt other than what I did means that I'm a schmuck and I shouldn't have done it. And as you know, I don't answer should word questions. I don't use the word should. To me, if I axe murdered my family, I'd want to say things like, boy, do I regret this. I've done something that's regrettable, I've done something unfortunate. It says nothing about me as a person other than, boy, I've got a big problem. And that's just going to have to take a number of all my other problems in life. Guilt, depression, and anxiety to me are never legitimate emotions. There's never a good reason to feel depressed. It's always based on irrational thinking, distortions. Anxiety, we're now in the 20th century, anxiety was used to keep us from going in dark caves if we heard a lion roar. That's when anxiety was really in our best interest. It's used for me when I don't go down 33rd Street anymore because I was mugged there once, and I get anxious at the thought of going back. That's what anxiety is used for. Other than that, it really doesn't have a place in our lives. And as we experience these three things, we can delegitimize them. Doesn't mean we're going to stop experiencing them, but as soon as we experience them, we can say something's going on that's screwed up in my head. Let me see what that screwed up thing is, and let me rephrase it in a way that's not so screwed up. So, with fear of losing a train, because that would really make me anxious.
Why don't you just say
Makes Jim anxious.
Well, he can get home at 3 o'clock. I would just, why don't you just say something about the Institute for Behavioral Therapy?
Okay. IBT is a behavior therapy place, cognitive behavior therapy place, where we train interns, and we have about 20 therapists on staff who, in my opinion, have various degrees of behavioral philosophy. And what I've begun doing is taking on interns into my groups and teaching them what's going on. After a person's been in my group for 1 year, they know more about OCD than 99% of the psychologists in this country. And I've had so many people say, I've gone to so many psychologists and they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. You're the first person who said, this is what it is. So I'm doing a lot of training. And I also take students from local universities, first-year graduate students, and send them on home visits. So I think there's nothing more powerful than to take that spritzer of toilet water and get a person to experience that over and over and over again. And We're trying,